You! Yes, you, listening to this show. Listen, I understand times are tough, but relax. We're here to help you. You are a great, wonderful, and happy person. I can see it just listening to you, just watching you. And I think it's because you are listening to shows like this. And you have a duty to keep yourself great and happy, as well as everyone else who listens to this show, by going to patreon.com/Obsesscast Productions. A donation to our show, Totally Not a Cult, which is for less than the cost of dealing with the devil. You can help us make the world a happier, funnier place, and more entertaining. Don't you want to be happy? I think you do. I can feel it. I know you do. Again, it's patreon.com/Obsesscast Productions. Remember, again, we're not a cult, just a podcast. Enjoy the show.
They've got you running through the night. Yes, it's terror time again. And you just might die of fright. It's terrifying time.
Oh, Lord.
One of these days, man, I'll start a cult and it'll be hilarious. Alright. You know, a few months ago, I made a deal with the Crossroads Demon to make this show the most listened to podcast on the internet. Gotta say, I want my soul back. Welcome to the After Credits Cast. I'm your host, AJ Waseska, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Metters.
Can you get mine back too while you're at it?
Sorry, I can only get one at a time.
Damn it!
And this week we have a special guest, Derek McDermott.
Yeah, I have no soul, so it's not a problem.
You know, those Crossroads Demons, they'll give you some really wicked deals, but you gotta make sure the wording is just right.
Mm-hmm.
One guy listening to this podcast for 24/7 does not equate to a lot of listeners. So, the intro song for this week is "Thank You, Editors, for catching that one. I appreciate that." And then,
Good on you, future Aaron.
Future Aaron has saved the day once again. You can also follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook to get all of your social media back and forth. And Ryan, if they want to email us directly, the easiest way to get a hold of us, what is the best email to go to?
That email is Chaz's overblown use of "The Devil Made Me Do It" from the Avatar podcast that we did at excuse me, sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
You know, I remember the phrase where they think God told me to do it.
Nah, stop. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Well, if you need someone to tell you, not necessarily God, but me, where to go for listening to your show, you can go to Patreon, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Apple Podcasts and all the other ones listed down below. Go check them out. Remember, God told you to do it too. In this episode, we're back with the revenge of the sequel, another spooky episode, of course. Today, we'll be conjuring up our own demons with The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. What it was, I'll never know. Directed by Michael Chavez and written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. Jesus Christ, how many names do you need? James Wan and Chad Hayes. The film earned a worldwide total so far of $160,700,000, which is about 2.5 times what it cost. Movies can be cheap when you don't have to render big monsters. That's a fact.
Very true.
The cast includes a few names you're probably familiar with and a few that you're not familiar with, including Ingrid Bisu, Vince Pisani, Steve Coulter, Keither Arthur Bolden. Not sure if I pronounced that right or typed it right, but I'm going to go with it. Ronnie Jean Blevins, Shannon Cook, Eugene Bondurant, John Noble, Julian Hillard, who is like perpetually cast to be the child in horror movie situations. I tell you what.
Hey, that kid's a contortionist, man. I'll tell you.
Actually,
Well, killer.
we'll get to that in a minute. Sarah Catherine Hook, Ruari O'Connor, Vera Farmiga, and Patrick Ocean Master Wilson.
I'm glad he dropped that Owlman shtick.
Absolutely. I mean, Ocean Master's so much better for him, if we're being real. No awards at the time of writing. We'll get to that some other time. Fun facts. Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you for fun facts.
All right. Well, we do have 3 fun facts for this film this evening. The prologue of the movie features an exorcism gone wrong. The scene strikingly features an 8-year-old David, played by, again, Julian Hilliard, twists in knots as the demon continues to possess him. About the scene, Michael Chavez revealed, "For those scenes, we employed a contortionist named Emerald Wolf, who was 12 years old when we filmed." Oh, I thought it was Julian. There were no special effects added to the movements at all. The only special effect we used was putting Julian's face on her. Oh, okay, that makes sense. All of those contortions were in camera. She did all that. She was able to twist her head around into that position. Yeah, that's
Damn.
that. I had a feeling. I had a feeling that was real. It was just like, oh shit.
It looked too good to be CGI, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Definitely. Kudos to that young contortionist. Next up, when Ed and Lorraine are looking for leads on the origins/meanings of the witch totem, Father Gordon... I'm still thinking about Gordon's fisherman. Father Gordon refers them to Father Kastner, whom he states has knowledge on the occult from his years spent studying the Disciples of the Ram. The Disciples of the Ram are the same cult featured in and responsible for the events of Annabelle in 2014. Just some more of that Conjuring multi-universe stuff going on.
I do appreciate the world building. That's actually pretty cool.
Right. Well, the final fun fact for the evening. Although the legal proceedings were not shown in the case, the judge of Arnie Cheyenne Johnson's trial rejected the defense plea of not guilty by demonic possession, stating that such a defense would be impossible to prove, also stating that it would be irrelevant and unscientific. I'm going to go with that.
Shocking.
To allow testimony
Objection.
in support of the possession defense. The jury were not legally allowed to consider the demonic possession defense, and Johnson's lawyer then argued self-defense. Johnson was found guilty of first-degree manslaughter on November 24th, 1981. Johnson was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in jail, but only served 5 due to good behavior. He and Debbie Glatzel married while he was in prison and remained so until her death from cancer shortly before the film's release. That's not a fun fact, man. Why'd you give me that one?
Can we get like a chapter of Ace Attorney where we get to defend somebody who's got demonic possession as their thing? I think it'd be kind of a fun episode to do. Just try to imagine Phoenix Wright fucking try to figure that one out.
Honestly, I thought it was a fun bit of the movie where he's trying to get the defense attorney to go with it, and she said, "How can I defend it in court? How can I convince a jury when you can't even convince me?" And he says, "Okay, come by my house for dinner. We'll show you some evidence that we've collected. If we can't convince you, we'll butt out." And then it cuts directly to her looking shaken in court. I thought that was just a really nice cut.
For as much as I've got problems with the true story this film's quote unquote based on, I do like a lot of the film aspect of this. Like the fictionalized world that they've built here is a fun world, if not a little weird.
Yeah.
But no, I just wish I could have seen that scene. I just want to know what they did to her.
Yeah, exactly. This is a horror movie, and you cut out the part that's like scaring her. It's like, come on, man. I'd rather see that in the courtroom.
I want to believe that they just had her touch Annabelle's hand and she was like fucking haunted for like the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get into some stuff here, but like, I know there's a scene where he told them that when they discover all that occult shit in the basement,
Oh yeah.
and he's like, "You should have burnt all this." Hey, pot calling kettle black. Don't you just have a room of trophies of occult shit that you guys just keep in glass cases? Hello?
Well, I thought oh, I'm sorry. We will get into that. I am engaging. We should get the initial thoughts out first.
Agreed. I think there are some cool ideas at work here. I don't think the film knows what to do with all of them. And I think that it doesn't hit on the same beats the first two did. I would say, arguably, probably the weakest of the trilogy, but we'll certainly get into that here in a little bit.
Interesting. Okay. Derek?
Well, yeah, it's definitely the weakest of the three. And that's probably because it's not the same director.
Ah, you caught that too.
Since James Wan didn't direct this one. And I don't know why that decision was made. I don't know if he was busy with
probably
something
Aquaman
else. Yeah, it's problems for me because these movies are generally well made, pretty good horror movies. But like I told Aaron before we ever started this, I can't differentiate between it being a propaganda film for the Warrens, because you can say it's fiction all you want, but they brought the Warrens onto the set, or at least her, onto the set each time. And they're using her case files, and they're using her in promotions, which tells me that they're selling her. And since those people are, well, I'm going to be kind, frauds, that bugs me. So it kind of sours when I watch it, because in the back of my mind I can only think about that, which sucks because they are well made. They're well crafted, especially for their price.
Oh yeah, no, they stretched that budget really good on these.
Yeah, and I mean it's better than his other. Like, I can't stand the Saw movies.
I was gonna say he only did a couple of them, right? Like there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, but he's responsible for most
Fair.
of them, as far as production goes and stuff like that. So I prefer like you. I like world building. I don't know if Marvel's done that to us, but several of the movies in this world building are not good, like The Nun, or Curse of La Llorona. These were.
They struck gold with the Annabelle stuff. Like they aren't all great, but they have done a really good job keeping those consistent.
Yeah, I have troubles. It's like Chucky. I have troubles being afraid of a doll. It's not. But yeah. So the movie's solidly made, although this one's a bit schizophrenic. Yeah. It wasn't sure what kind of movie it wanted to be. Is it a courtroom drama? Is it an exorcism movie? Is it a... It's kind of back and forth between all of them without really doing a great job of any of them.
Okay. Alright. That's fair. I am not... longtime listeners of this podcast will know I am not really a horror movie person. That being said, I did have some fun with this one, despite all of the ridiculous jump scares. I kind of enjoyed the different premise of them having to provide proof for a courtroom scenario. I thought that was a very interesting take to do, and it kind of lent it a bit of freshness to me. I enjoyed the idea of them having to go against an actual human antagonist, where there's demonic possession involved, but there's an actual malevolent human behind the issue that they had to kind of match wits with, which I enjoyed. It kind of brought it a little bit out of the horror element and into
Dark fantasy, maybe?
Yeah, like
Law
like
and
a
Order, exorcism.
Law and Order. No, it kind of made it into like a horror-esque fantasy almost. I kept making like D&D comparisons in my head, like thinking of what classes everybody are, and they're going up against a warlock or some shit. But overall, I had fun with it, and it'll be interesting to hear what more established horror aficionados like you two gentlemen have to say about it.
Oh, before we say anything, let's switch over to our synopsis real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The Warrens are out on another exorcism night, playing Twister when the demon in question gets a little out of hand and almost kills Ed. Thinking quickly, older brother of possessed child, Arnie, asks the demon to take him instead. And demons are not one to refuse a free home, so Ed is taken to the hospital and everyone believes, for now, the home is demon-free. However, Arnie starts to feel unwell, sees weird things, and animals are very unsettled by his mere presence. It isn't long until he kills someone, which is totally out of character for this young man we barely know. They call him the Warrens because they believe he is possessed, but the Warrens are tasked to prove this to the defense attorney and the courtroom to keep Arnie out of jail. The Warrens find a strange totem underneath the kid's home, and seek answers from the church. They direct the couple to an old man who knows an awful lot about a certain witch cult to not be involved with it. But they don't really question him that hard. This sends them to a side quest to find a missing girl who had a similar totem in her possession. They discover the totem is used by a witch of sorts who uses a demon to kill people because of a crooked deal she made. No relation to, of course, the crooked man from the previous film. The Warrens eventually track down where the witchy woman is. Meanwhile, Arnie's getting possessed in prison, which seems like an extreme response to not picking up the soap.
Wow!
So the clock is ticking before the demon kills Arnie. The Warrens discover the witch bitch is in the same house as the old man from earlier. Oh no, who could have guessed? They fight her, beat her. She is taken to hell by her demon dealmaker. Arnie is saved, and the Warrens can go back to committing acts of fraud around the country. I mean, saving lives, because in this fictional universe, they are the heroes, and played by pretty people.
Oh my god!
Yeah, when you compare pictures of them to the actors that are playing them, it's it's like Patrick Wilson's like 6'2", gorgeous. He was not.
So I have in my discussion list here, I'm going to give Derek here a few minutes just to give his little rant and about hating and disliking the Warrens. I figure I'll give him the floor space for it.
Okay.
I'm very interested in this because I don't know anything about like the real life Warren. So please.
So they were involved in several things. They were involved in the Amityville case, which has already been proven to be BS. They sold that a line. They were involved in the case in England, which is what the second Conjuring's about, which has also been proven to be BS. They sold this stuff. They made lots of money. They were very popular. They took advantage of the Satanic Panic in the 80s, where lots of people got locked up in prison for nothing, and a couple of them are still there for things that never happened.
Jeez.
And this movie rolls onto that, because even the scenes, like the one scene you would think would be the most unrealistic, where they're asking police stations if they've seen that witch's totem, which you would think most police stations are like, what the hell are you talking about? And shove it in the square receptacle in the ground for trash. No, police, they were actually had training videos about that stuff in the 80s. The Great Reagan age of that. So that's probably the most realistic part of this movie, is that the police actually did that. But yeah, I really dislike those people. I don't like the fact that they take advantage of people who obviously have some emotional issues that maybe needed some help with, and it sours when I watch a movie that's basically propaganda for them. Now, it would have been different if they just called it fiction. I would be fine with that. But they kind of play that half game where they're like, based on true events. Really? Like, there was a court case, and he definitely murdered his landlord. But it wasn't because he was possessed by a witch that has no clear motivation for why she picked these people. Just because devil worshippers like chaos. Which is also not true. But Yeah, it's just my wife will tell you how annoyed she gets about how often she hears me talk about the fact that I can't watch these movies by this simple fact. So, yeah, especially the Satanic Panic stuff. They rode that to money, and that cost a lot of people lives.
Yeah, I could see that being a bit of a sticking point there.
Well, because like the second Conjuring, it starts out with Amityville for like 5 minutes. And they fail to mention things like, when the family moved out, because it was just too bad, that another family moved in 2 months later who's lived there for the last 40 years and never had a single incident. Shocking that the family that was underwater and in incredible debt and couldn't afford the house mysteriously had a huge haunting that made them lots of money. And no one else could justify. Even the priests came out and said, yeah, I got paid to make up stuff. So yeah, it's bad.
So yeah, Ryan, you learned a little bit today.
I did. I think I'm just gonna stick with the fiction, with the Conjuring universe, because that's more fun.
Yeah,
that's more cool.
And that's the thing. I love the actors. I love Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga.
I still have a big crush on Vera Farmiga. I just can't help myself.
Like I said, they're played by pretty people.
The other question I have about this movie is, like, he had a heart attack. How is he still ripped? How is he doing anything in this?
My man was swinging that sledgehammer at the end. Like, yo, what?
Like, I have some experience in this, being a sickly man, especially the last 3 months. I can barely carry groceries from my car to my apartment with that condition. And he's fucking holding onto her off a cliff. Don't worry, he's got magic blood pressure pills. Because that's how that works. When your heart starts beating, you just take a pill and, like, within seconds you're fine. No. I'm on, like, 5 different blood pressure medication. That is not how it works.
Like I said,
it's that and the power of God. The power of him almost being a priest.
No, it's the power of the ocean.
Compels me. The power of Christ compels me.
Ryan, he's
the power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Ryan,
no, sorry, wrong actor.
Ryan, he's basically Mr. Nimbus, if we're being honest.
I guess, yeah.
Shit.
I mean, he's a very attractive man. And especially in those 80s pants.
Absolutely, yeah. So I've got some questions, but is there anyone else who has questions they want to hit up first, or should I just jump on into these? All right. If someone you cared about was possessed by a demon, would you willingly invite that shit into you? Why or why not?
No, I'm sorry. No. I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that seemed like a very big leap to make in that one there. I honestly think so.
Well, to be fair, I could probably, if I invited a demon in my body, we'd both be dead in like a minute and a half, because my body's not going to hold up. The demon's going to hop in and go, "The hell?
Get me out of here."
No, I need out of here. None of his organs
Take it
work.
back, take it back, take it back.
Here? I don't want to be here. But, yeah, no. I mean, I don't need to be spitting pea soup at people or masturbating with the cross or contorting on a kitchen table. None of that sounds like fun.
On the flip side, someone you care about has killed somebody, and is using demonic possession as their defense. How long until you leave that relationship forever?
Man.
Immediately.
You know, I in the fictional universe, Arnie and his wife are like some of the most noble people I've ever seen. My man's like, okay, so this kid's obviously possessed. I'm going to go toe to toe with the demon because it's the noble thing to do. And his girlfriend, who just saw him kill this dude, is like, no, that's not him. I believe it's not him. And I just lived through the possession thing with my little brother, and he's in this predicament because he saved my little brother. I'm not gonna leave him now. Like that, these are very noble yet very fictional people, I think.
I have to believe that she's, like, playing up some kind of, like, abuse situation. This is just her kind of justifying her staying there.
Yeah.
Or she's just one of those people that would have ended up writing letters to serial killers.
And this is not supposed to be a joke at abuse victims, by the way. I'm totally not saying that, but, like, this just feels like a way to set up that excuse almost to me. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, this is why I'm kind of sad to now think about the IRL stuff. Now the IRL stuff kind of taints the movie for me. Thanks, Terry.
You're very welcome.
I was just like, oh, these
I do
people
what
are
I
really
can.
nice. No.
No.
Ocean Master's really nice, though. I like him. Let's see, next one here. So, do either of you feel underwhelmed we didn't get some kind of demonic figure or entity as our central antagonist, i.e. the nun or the witch from the first movie?
Well, I don't miss how they usually do it, where it's bad makeup Darth Maul looking guy. In the past movies where they've spent even less money. My question was, like, in the second one, she basically just fucks with a demon by yelling its name and making it her bitch. And in this one, like, a teenage girl almost gets the best of her. It's like, come on, that's like going down a step in the universe here. And I know she has like magic dust, where she takes control of people, like
Right.
Dreamy, but it's no, I don't miss the demon. I didn't need a visual representation of the demon.
Yeah. And like I mentioned in my initial thoughts, I kind of liked the change of pace, that the central antagonist is not just like some demonic entity beyond our understanding, but rather it's actually a human, and you see kind of the depths that humanity is capable of in this particular circumstance, and it's somebody who knows how to actively apply demonic magic and demonic forces to like do their will. So I thought that was a cool switch up in tone.
I feel like I'm the only one who disagrees then. I kind of would have liked some sort of, not like bad makeup monster thing, but like just something. I don't know. I feel like just when you make the antagonist of your demonic possession haunting series like a person, it just feels a little underwhelming to me. And I get the person's like a magic using witch person, but it still doesn't have the same impact to me as like an actual monster would have.
Aaron misses his position.
A little bit, yeah. No, I always look at these Conjuring movies like basically just Scooby-Doo, but the monster's real. And in this case, there wasn't really a monster, so to speak. It's just a person controlling a puppet that ends up turning back on them, so to speak. So, I don't know. Like I said, just a little underwhelming to me is all. I don't hate it, but I don't know. I was hoping for more.
That's valid.
Well, in some of her decision making as the protagonist, I question. Like when she takes possession of him, and he's swinging that sledgehammer trying to kill his wife. Now, she understands that her setup was in that same basement, right? And she just put a madman with a sledgehammer just destroying everything in there. I mean, she obviously didn't think that through. It's like, oh, hey, wait a minute. If I could be stopped by you just destroying my table, maybe don't send the guy with the sledgehammer in there. Probably not the wisest decision, but then again, she is young.
Wow, you know what? I just realized something. Ryan's really...
Is she young? She did not look that young. Maybe it's just that she's
Youngish.
so gaunt that she looks so
youngish.
skeletal.
So I just realized something. Ryan, you're totally right about something. This is like a D&D setup because as soon as he destroys the table, the game's over.
Bruh.
At least they didn't flip it.
God damn it. I mean, Lorraine tried. Lorraine tried to flip the table. The fucking stone table.
He's just too weak.
Not enough points in strength. Mm-mm.
You had to get the heart attack guy.
God. Guy fucking has low constitution, has a strength, what do you call it, handicap on him right now. He still can do it over her. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
That whole chase, I was just yelling at her like, if he's just gonna swing wildly, lead him to the table. Just do it. Just lead him to the table. He'll accidentally fuck it up. It'll be fine.
Speaking of weird shenanigans, so this movie kind of changes its genre a little bit. The first two films are all like the haunted house setup. This is obviously doing something a little different. Do you think this change is a good change for the series? What works and what doesn't?
I prefer it as a haunted house series. Quite honestly, I don't need. I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see them try to prove in court that possession exists, which is hilarious. But if I'm watching a horror movie, I want horror. I don't need long interludes that aren't horror. And again, this movie's longer than the last one we talked about, which is a problem for me. But no, I mean, the haunted house ones seem more tighter and scarier. Quite honestly, like this one wasn't nearly as scary as the other two.
I think you hit the nail on the head pretty hard, right there, because this movie does try to expand the scope of what the Warrens do to a pretty large degree. They go to a lot of different places, they do a lot of different things, meet a lot of different people, and with their other two films, they're very tight and very focused, and they're very much like self-contained in a way where it just allows tension to build up. Here, there's so much downtime in between big things happening, and everyone's so separated. There's not really a lot of tension built up, so it doesn't really feel like it's scary by any means. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that might be why I liked it, because it was less scary.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think the general premise of any ghost hunting team, it doesn't have to be the Warrens, but any ghost hunting team proving the existence of like possession, ghosts, or demons in a courtroom is a great setup and a great like premise. If you just focused on that and cut out everything else, you could make that something very entertaining. But it tried to do so many things, and I think, Ryan, we've talked about this in a few other films already. A lot of films that try to do too many things at once just fail to make any one of them stand out as being very good.
Yeah. Like butter scraped over too much bread. You spread yourself too thin when you try to do too many things at once. As the great Ron Swanson would say, never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.
I do appreciate that. That's good. That's good. So we've seen the Warrens take their life and work to public before in the fictional world, remind you. But why does this go around feel different from previous films and public appearances in said films?
I think, or at least from my perspective, at the end of the day, the burden of proof always fell for them trying to prove it to the church so that the church could do something about it. So when they have to prove it to a court of law, like, it changes the tone a bit drastically, and they have to do all of these extra things that they didn't do in the previous two films. So, I mean, like, the general tone shift was pretty significant because of that. Because at the end of the day, if you prove like the signs of a demonic possession to the church, like, who's already based on the existence of God and the devil, then it's allowed to sit in that realm more, rather than having to go out and deal with a bunch of people who kind of deny the entire premise of God and the devil.
Yeah, that's basically exactly right. Moving it to a court of law where you actually demand empirical evidence, not just spiritual evidence, changes the whole tone.
Yeah.
And I don't think for the better.
Yeah, it almost moves it to like a near comedy level kind of thing, because that's a setup you definitely see for like a parody of this kind of stuff.
Mel Brooks movie.
Oh God, could you imagine a Mel Brooks movie where they have to prove a ghost exists in court?
That sounds amazing. That sounds incredible. I really want that movie now.
Someone get Mel Brooks on the phone. I have an idea for him. Let's make it his last movie if we can get it in time. Let's do it.
He's like 98 years old. Good luck with that.
Listen, he only has to sit there and put his name on. I'm there to help him do the rest. Okay. I actually want to write that one down because that actually seems like a fun film project idea I want to try to do. That seems like the one I could actually get into Hollywood with. I'm going to do that one. Anyway,
Nice.
Anyway, next question. Does this film imply there's a deeper level of magic that exists in this universe? If so, can we expect more magic nonsense in future films, and what would you want to see?
Well, yeah, obviously it has a witch. I mean, that really goes with the Catholic Church, though. So,
But the church doesn't believe in magic, Derek. They think it's like devil worship.
well,
It
that's
is.
and that's what she
That's
was.
what she
That's what
was.
she was. She was a devil worshiper. But I don't know if I want. Well, supposedly this is the end of the trilogy for them. So you're not getting, at least what they say, you're not getting any more straight Conjuring movies.
Which is
Now-
interesting because with all the crap they have in that room, that could lead to all sorts of other films. I am very surprised that they're going to cut it off at just 3. Like, I'm not.
Well, what they'll probably do is they'll probably make films about all that crap. That won't be Conjuring movies, and then like the Warrens will have bit parts in them, like show up at the end to take the trophies that they didn't earn.
Damn.
Put in their house to sell tickets for that you can come see
So much
if you're willing to pay a couple
shade.
$1,000s to see the tickets.
So much shade. I love it.
I'm not sure they're going to keep getting Patrick Wilson and Beers Brendan.
That or they're going to like really reduce the roles
So-
and reduce the cost if they can.
Yeah, because I don't think those actors. I think her for sure. I think she's done. I think she doesn't want to do it anymore.
I imagine they were less happy about this one because James Wan wasn't there to convince him to do it. They had to go with some other dude.
Yeah, it's so I'm not sure what I want to see in this universe. What are they getting ready to do? Like the 4th or 5th Annabelle movie?
I don't remember what they're on now, but yeah, they're rolling on that one still.
And the Nun 2 is also coming.
Why?
Because they don't cost anything to make. It's the same thing with most horror movies. Like, Friday the 13th made, what, I think they're on like 14? But when each one only costs like $1 million, and they make like 30, you're going to keep making them.
So here's the problem I have with that, though. There was a period in time, I want to say it was like in the 90s to early 2000s, when horror movies just stopped being entertaining. And I think it was largely because they over-sequelized and overdid it, and they stopped really being scary, and they were just kind of there to just fill space. And it wasn't until, like,
Well,
the late 2000s, early 2010s, when horror movies started actually getting kind of good again. I'm worried that if they overdo this with the Conjuring movies, that they're going to end up in that same position where we're just back into a bunch of crap being out there that's not really good, it's just there to fill space.
well, some of that also, it wasn't that it was over-sequelized in the 90s. Most of the sequels of, like, the Friday the 13th and stuff were done by early 90s. I mean, I'll show you that stuff. Most of the 90s stuff and early 2000s stuff, it became too slick. All of a sudden, you were getting like 20 TV stars in every one of your horror movies, and they had to be PG-13, and because you wanted kids to be able to go to them. and the premises got stupider and stupider. So that killed it for like, what's a kind word for us horror fans that are stuck in the past? Like for traditional horror fans that grew up in the 80s watching those horror movies, where we wanted our horror movies to be sloppy, cheap, but have great physical effects and not CGI. Because I still don't like the effect of CGI blood. It still looks too fake to me. In slasher films, I still like practical effects on that. But then, when you get to later 2000s, you start getting, I guess what I would call auteur directors, for lack of a better term, that decided they can make horror movies, where you get like the Ari Asters, the Eggers, who are making like just good films, period, and that happen to be horror. And that kind of reopens horror a bit, but don't worry, the time is coming. We're going to get more sequels. As soon as the court case for Friday the 13th is done, you can count on there being another one of those.
Yeah, that's an interesting story to follow, too, the whole Friday the 13th ownership nonsense.
Hey, fill me in on this, because I'm not familiar.
So the original writer and the original producer are fighting each other about who owns Friday the 13th.
Oh, wow.
Now, the original writer didn't write anything about Jason. Because the first one wasn't supposed to have Jason in it at all.
Oh, shit.
That
Okay.
that end scene, well, because it was his mom. So that end scene, maybe you haven't even seen Friday the 13th, I guess. Maybe I'll spoil
No. I have seen Friday the 13th before. I am familiar with
Okay.
with the
I was going to say,
thing.
spoiler for a 40-year-old movie. But that end scene where he jumps out of the lake, they just came out with that on the spot. That was the director's son that played him. That wasn't in the script. That wasn't anything. And like the reason, like when part 2 came out, they couldn't get Tom Savini back because he thought it was stupid. He's like, Jason's dead, and why is he? If he died as a boy, why is he all of a sudden this overgrown hillbilly that lives in the forest? So, but the writer seems to think like he's owed money and credits for. It's a big mess. That's why in like the last several, like in production companies change too. So like when you see the last, Jason X or Jason Goes to Hell, notice none of those say Friday the 13th.
Ah.
The last one that says Friday the 13th is
The remake.
Well, the remake after 8. So there was part 8, Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. And then there was nothing that said Friday the 13th until the remake.
Well, there's also the additional wrinkle in there where, like, the video game rights and other distribution rights are in question because, like, no one knows who actually is, like, able to give out the license to make the video games for that series.
Yeah. It's a giant.
Wow.
Trust me, all the horror websites I follow, it's always talked about. They've even brought in the guy, I may have been the only one who's seen part 3, the character everybody hates in the entire series, like the worst character in the series, is in that one. It's the reason he gets his hockey mask.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
But that guy's a lawyer now. So some horror podcasts I brought in have even brought him on to explain the legal ramifications.
Wow.
Of what's going on.
That's incredible.
So, but don't worry, have no fear. Pretty soon, Michael Myers will have company with the rest of his '80s crew.
I was gonna say we haven't seen
getting-
anything about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies getting another reboot.
No, we're getting a new Hellraiser TV series.
Oh God!
No.
But Clive Barker's involved,
Okay.
so I'm actually kind of curious. He hasn't been involved since the first one, so I'm kind of curious.
But so much about
ex-
Hellraiser is not suitable for TV.
Well, it's not suitable for a network television. I doubt it's going to be. I don't know what streaming service it's going to be on, but it's not going to be. Sometimes parents have to take responsibility and say, "Hey, you're not watching this."
Yeah.
I don't want to
mean,
assume it'll be Shudder exclusive, but I feel like that'd be the most at home place for it.
Yeah, it's just expect a lot of BDSM, basically, with that. But no, that last that last Nightmare on Elm Street remake was so bad that it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
For me, the last Nightmare on Elm Street was New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Exactly.
God, I love that movie so much. That's
good.
That has a special place near and dear to my heart.
That was his practice for Scream. Of going meta. Actually, really did a much better job with Scream, which is probably maybe a top 6 horror movie.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Look how far we've come from Conjuring in this discussion.
It's almost like there's not enough to talk about. So this is the first in the trilogy not to be directed by James Wan, as Derek pointed out earlier. Was that change noticeable to you guys watching it? And if so, what stuck out to you? What didn't work? What did work?
That's a better question for Derek than me.
It was noticeable because it's not as tight. Say what you want about James Wan. His movies are usually tight and concise and to the point. Even and normally his productions are like that too, which kind of surprises me with this one. I don't know if this one was maybe because it was filmed somewhat during the pandemic, that the production was just not as
Possibly.
well done. Or maybe he's just better with less money.
That would make a lot of sense because
Where-
Aquaman does not feel like a tight movie at all. Like in any sense of the word.
I think maybe he's one of those directors that's better to keep him on a smaller budget. It makes him be more creative. To where if you just know you can spend what you want, it sometimes dilutes the product.
I think that's true of a lot of horror movies, though. I think when you raise the budget of some of them,
Yeah.
they just get way too stupid.
The famous line from Platinum Dunes idiot.
Oh, Michael Bay?
Michael Bay. The famous line from Michael Bay when he announced that they were remaking Nightmare on Elm Street, when he said, "We're going to give it what it always needed, a big budget."
No.
Every horror person was banging their head on the wall. No, the original was great because they had no money. They ran out of money like 2/3 of the way through filming. They had to be creative. That's why Freddy's arms look so stupid in that scene where he's chasing Tina down the alleyway. It's because they had no money for great special effects.
It's just like
And that's what we love about
it's just
it.
like when EA pumped millions of dollars into Dead Space 3, saying, "This is what you wanted, right? A bigger budget horror movie game?" And everyone's like, "No, it's not going to sell enough to make that worthwhile."
So I just think that if he had full control over it, it probably would have been tighter and maybe better edited.
Probably.
But I'm not sure exactly how involved he was in it.
Considering how busy he's been lately, I would feel like he was a little bit more hands-off than he wanted to be.
And yet it still made a shit ton of money.
Well, especially in post-COVID times, so...
Yeah, it kind of helps that it's like it was the only thing out. None of these movies have any competition at this point.
Well, let's turn a change here. We've got, I almost said Fantastic 9. No, Fast Furious 9. And,
that opened
and
last
then
Friday.
Black Widow's coming out next week.
2 weeks. The 9th.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The 9th. This week it's the new Purge movie.
The Forever Purge.
Purge in Texas. Yeehaw.
Good lord.
Isn't that already
Is that
happened?
basically just Texas?
Texas. Yeah, isn't that just Texas?
Oh my god. No shade to all my fam in Texas.
You just build a wall around Austin.
Austin, the one great place down there.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of just figured that was Texas. Hey.
Final question. Why do you think the Conjuring-Verse works so well, and what can other film franchises learn from it?
As annoying as it is to me, I think it works well because of the fact that some people see it as real, that it's got that mix of these are some real people, whether you believe what happened to them or not. I think that is kind of unique in the horror universe, and that I think that kind of entertains people. And the first two were quality, well-made movies. They weren't. Now, say what you will about the extended universe. They have solid actors and good directing. So the mix of the two, I think, brings people in. I think they'll lessen if the quality keeps going like this. Like if they make another one, and it's worse than this one, they'll see their numbers dip, because I don't think this one made as much as the other two per budget. Like compared to the budget, because this one was more expensive.
More expensive, but again, post-COVID, they're probably gonna have to wait another movie to know for sure.
Yeah, who knows if that will ever happen? I'm sure we're all just anxiously anticipating La Llorona 2.
Oh, with bated breath, absolutely. I don't know. I think the lesson that they probably could take away from this, if anything, is that these movies functioned very well as individual pictures. Like, I didn't need to see the first two Conjurings to know what's going on here. It certainly helps. And I think that Marvel does it best when you can just watch the one movie you want to see and not feel like you have to watch everything else to understand it. And I feel like other film franchises, DC, need to pick up that particular mentality, because while I understand that it's good to have a plot thread connected throughout the films, it's also good for the average film goer just to be like, hey, I just want to see this one Batman thing. I don't want to see all this fucking shit with Superman because he's a bitch. I just want to see this one Batman thing. And
Yeah, I think that's fair as well. The idea that there's a good amount of movies in whatever shared cinematic universe you're making that can stand on their own. Not only it gives the universe multiple jumping in points, so that you could watch any number of movies, and if you like it, then it will draw you to watch the rest of them. Requiring 3 or 4 different movies to watch before you can watch this other movie works for Marvel, but that's kind of lightning in a bottle, because they did the groundwork and they laid the foundation for the universe so well that they can kind of ask that. And even then, that kind of turns some people off, and some people are marveled out, and that's understandable. But the ability, the idea that you could just put on any one of these movies from the Conjuring universe, it has the strength to, some of them have the strength to stand alone, and you can watch them and have fun. And if you like them enough, it will encourage you to watch the rest of the universe, is a smarter way to do it than to forcibly input for trailers for your other fucking movies in the first one.
we're never gonna let them live that down, are we?
Never! Because that's fucking stupid! God damn it!
That is one thing I can appreciate about this one. They really didn't do that. There's no side quest item that you see that you can obviously tell they're going to make another movie about.
Right.
Like there have been in the other ones.
And they do it, they do it so subtly, too, because all you have to do is put something in a room, and you know that everything in this room has some type of terrible spirit attached to it. Just seeing the room is enough to draw interest in, oh, what else could they do movies about? Subtlety. They don't bash you in the fucking face with the idea that there could be more Conjuring movies. It's just, hey, we still have a room full of possessed shit. You know, I mean, what about that deer head on the wall? Well, who knows? We might do something with that.
Dude, I hope
can
there's
do
like
it
a.
subtly.
I hope there's like a just an old Game Boy on one of the shelves in there, and he's like, okay, we're gonna serve this haunted Game Boy. Here we go.
It's gonna be that deer heads from the cabin from Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
And these guys are gonna have to fuck with Ash.
Oh God.
And he's not gonna have to deal with any of their shit.
That's all I have got for questions. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we get to the mail call?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, this is part of the episode where we remind you can reach out to us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. And again, we always appreciate the support over on patreon.com/RecessCastProductions. And I forget to do this every now and then, but I'm trying to remember more often. If you listen to us on any platform that is not Patreon, because I don't think they do reviews on Patreon, please give us reviews, 5 stars, likes, whatever the metric your platform uses. Helps us get more views, helps us get more audience, helps us get to be a better show. So yeah, reviews are always great. And Ryan, if they want to email us directly with reviews, even though they should just post them on their platform, where could they email them to?
They can email them at Law and Order Demonic Intent at excuse me. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
The courtroom jokes are just getting a little bit out of order here.
Boom, boom.
Dun.
Anyway, this is the episode where this is the part of the episode where we rank the film from platinum to trash on the colors in between. Derek, how you feel on this one?
It's not trash. It's silver. They're still pretty well made. It's still a pretty well made movie. It's not up to the par of the other two. And I'm not gonna. My personal biases aside, I can't put it in trash just because I have those biases. It is a work of fiction, after all. So it's silver for me. This wasn't as tight. It wasn't scary. Maybe the contortion scene, although that kind of stuff's getting overdone now. In horror,
I will say it was at least well done. Like, I didn't expect him to have a real contortionist there, so I was impressed with that at least.
Yeah. But it doesn't really scare
Oh,
me.
no, not at all.
And that's kind of the point of a horror movie. Now, granted,
I mean, that's
well
fair.
calloused.
That's quite fair.
I'm well calloused, and I get scared by documentaries more than I get scared by
I get scared by the news.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, it's silver for me, for sure.
All right. I think I'll also join you on the silver train. I had a good time with it. IRL facts notwithstanding and tainting my enjoyment of it after the fact.
You're very welcome.
No, aside from that though, I did enjoy. I enjoyed the change of pace that the movies introduced. Again, that's probably because I'm a fucking scaredy cat and I don't really do horror movies. So when it took a step kind of away from horror, I actually enjoyed what they were doing with it. But still, I had a good time. Anytime I see John Noble, the old man, the father, whose daughter ends up becoming the Satanist. Anytime I see him in a scary role in a scary movie, he has to be in some way connected to the villain, or he is the villain. I was a little sad that it wasn't him. Because if you've seen him in anything else where he turns on evil, he does it really, really well. So I'm sad that I didn't get to see that.
It's a bummer.
It's one of the main reasons why I fell in love with the show Fringe back in the day. But aside from that, I think the movie it was very enjoyable. Jump scares and contortions aside, I like what it was doing with the universe, and I got to show some different shades of it as well.
I will be a slight contrarian, and I will go bronze. I don't think it's a bad film by any means, but I do think that the last time I reviewed one of these was a silver, and I do feel like this is definitely a step down from what the other two films were doing in one way or another. And like you said, Derek, it's not as tight. It's not as scary, and I still feel like it's one of those movies that we've seen before this season, where it's trying to do way too much at once and it needs to narrow the focus down. So I'd say a lot of it hurts it from getting up higher from bronze to me.
Okay.
That is our review of The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, another proud Iowa Film Critic Association review. So make sure you keep tuning in for these juicy takes. And next week, where am I on the schedule here? So if I have the schedule accurate, next week you'll be listening to 28 Weeks Later, followed by Halloween Kills and Evil Dead 2. And then, don't forget to tune into our exclusives for the month. This month should be Ghostbusters 2. Next month will be Ghostbusters Afterlife because of scheduling shenanigans. And next season, video games, round 2. Get ready for a fight, guys.
Oh, man.
Get ready for a fight. It'll be great. So thank you for listening, and we will see you after the credits.
Bye.